What up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you guys for coming back. Thank you guys for supporting me. I appreciate it. I will always appreciate it. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to tackle a concept that I talked about a couple videos ago, episode 4. Our dreams, a peek into our subconscious. Are your opinions your own? You know, I touched base on it a little bit in that video as far as the concept goes and as far as how I felt about it. But I'm gonna try to dive a little deeper into the premise of it and answer a couple questions that I got and see what I can come up with. So let's get started. So first I want to get into dreams, right? Dreams and being a part of our subconscious. I think the bigger question here would be, what is our subconscious? You know, what is your subconscious? What does that mean to you? Firstly, I want to say I'm trying to understand it myself. You know, I don't believe that I have the right answers to it. This is just sort of my experience and how I come to view it, you know, the subconscious and what it means to me. You know, I believe your subconscious thoughts, your subconscious mind is an accumulation of your past experiences stored somewhere in your mind. You know, sort of like a memory card stores information on a computer. I believe your subconscious stores information that you gain through experiences in life, through perspectives, through good and bad experiences. You know, you're downloading things every day. You know, you're downloading interactions with people, you're downloading conversations and emotions and how it made you feel and things like that. You know, you're constantly downloading things in life, and I feel like it's stored within your subconscious, right? So you're still aware of it, but it's not at the forefront of your mind and not at the forefront of your thoughts. You know, it's sort of like your perception, you know, your view, your eyesight, right? So when you're looking at something, you're conscious of what you're looking at. So if I'm looking in the camera, right, I'm conscious of me looking into the camera, but there's so many other things going on, right? Peripheral vision and things like that, which I'm not paying attention to, but it's there, you know, and I'm aware of it. So if somebody were to come down the stairs, I'll be aware of it. You know, it's within the perspective of my within the perspective of my view, but it's not at the forefront of my mind, right? So I'm not thinking about things around me, just what's in front of me. And I feel like that's the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind. You know, the conscious mind, you're thinking about specifics, you know, things that you bring up to the forefront of your thoughts. The subconscious is a layer that, you know, it's kind of just there. It's an idle. You know, it's in limbo. You know, it's just thoughts that are there that can come up, and who knows what it does for you. You know, it could control your emotions and your perspective on things. I feel like it does. You know, I feel like your subconscious thoughts play a part in how you feel about life and how you feel about the world around you. And that's based on your perspective and your experiences. You know, it's a deeper level with that. It's pretty complex. You know, it's not an easy thing to explain, to understand, or to even grasp the idea of, but I'm trying to. I'm trying to understand it as best I can. You know, this is kind of my perspective on it. I'm sure you guys have different viewpoints or different ideals when it comes to your inner thoughts and your subconscious and what that even means to you. You know, that could be your spirit, that could be your soul, that could be just another layer of reality. You know, who knows what it is. That's kind of where I'm tampering with it. You know, where I'm trying to understand it as best I can, because I feel like it does play a part into how you kind of go about your life, to an extent. And just to add on to that, there's this quote that says, until you make the unconscious conscious, you allow it to dictate your life and call it fate. You know, that's powerful. You know, I feel like there's a lot of unconscious thoughts that you have in your mind that you're unaware of, you know, and that kind of take the reins sometimes and dictate how you go about things. And to understand that is relative to you. You know, I feel like we're all built through different experiences, and we share similar, you know, qualities, I suppose, as human beings in society. But as far as like personal experiences and specifics go, you know, it's relative to the individual. It's different. Everybody's different. You know, everybody has different viewpoints on life and things like that. But I think it's important to understand your unconscious mind, you know, and that sub-layer of your conscious. So continuing with this thought, talking about the dreams, right? And, you know, me lucid dreaming and trying to understand the correlation between my dreams and my subconscious mind. You know, it's something that I'm still trying to figure out as well. You know, I don't have a conclusion for it. You know, I'm sort of piecing it together and trying to understand my dreams, right, and how they correlate to me in my reality, my physical reality. To give you guys an example, there was a time not too long ago where I felt shaky, right? My mental state felt shaky. I was constantly thinking. As I would go to bed, I'd have these very vivid, lucid dreams, and it would take me to places where I would reflect on myself. So, for example, I had this dream where I was floating right over a body of water, and there was like monsters or like animals in that water that if you touched it, if I were to touch that water, like I would die. That was sort of the premise of my dream. I just remember floating there and remember if I were to touch this water, if I were to land in this water, then I would die. But I never did. I was just floating above the water, and I was like, kind of looking around, taking everything in, right? And then I sort of got teleported into this space where I had people around me that I knew, right? So I had, my girlfriend, my brother, a couple friends that were there, just around me, and I was the focal point of the dream. I was the center of attention. I remember them looking to me for leadership, I suppose, or to make a decision in that moment, right? I think we were running away from something, or we had to go somewhere, and it was just, the decision was on me. I was standing there and I was just waiting, and they were waiting for me to make a decision, pretty much, and I couldn't make the decision. I remember looking into the mirror. There was a mirror there, and I couldn't make the decision, right? Like, I was on standby. I was frozen. You know what I mean? Like, they were looking to me to make a move, and I froze. When I think about it, in this conscious state, right? When I just think about it, I'm naturally not a decisive person. I'm naturally not somebody to make executive decisions. I prefer to go with the flow. I prefer to take a group vote and see what everybody wants to do, right? I don't make executive decisions. That's just not what I do. I don't know. Like, it's not that I can't, because I could, but I prefer not to. And so I was there, and I remember reaching for a crutch, reaching for a handicap, reaching for something to help me stimulate my decision in my dream. And what I went to was alcohol. There was alcohol came up in my dream for some reason. And I just remember drinking and getting that courage, that liquid courage to make a decision, right? And I did, and after I drank some beer, I drank whatever alcohol I had in my dream, I was able to make the choices and make the decisions. And that was interesting. There was a couple more things that happened in that dream, a little hazy, but that part of it was interesting to me, because when I woke up, I started to think, like, it's when you think about alcohol, right? For me, at least, it's very, how do you say? I mean, alcohol for everybody's different, right? In some ways, it can be used as a tool to act, right? It can be used as a tool to step out of your shell. For me, at least, alcohol has been liquid courage, right? Like, I feel more loose. I'm able to act on decisions and not think twice about them. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, to essentially need alcohol to make those decisions and not be confident enough within myself to make it, and it's things like that. So after that dream, I woke up and I started thinking about that, and it was a revelation for me. And I was just like, man, like, that is interesting, because I've used alcohol before to make decisions like that, or not even use alcohol to make it, but just I've been in positions where I've been drinking and I just feel more confident in myself, and I'm just like, man, I don't need this alcohol to feel more confident in myself. At least I shouldn't. I should be able to make decisions within myself and not need a crutch for it. So that was sort of like a correlation between dreams and reality, dreams in my subconscious, and how I tried to piece it together, and it made sense to me. So that was, I just want to share that example with you guys. All right, so I want to touch up on a couple questions, that came up from a couple friends from the same video, my 4th episode. So I had a question, right, that a friend asked, and the question was, where do you find the balance in being open to outside perspectives while not abandoning your own? And that's a great question. I feel like with this, you have to trust your perspective in the presence of others. I feel like without challenge, there is no growth, and that's with a lot of things, not just this particular conversation. Without challenge in the gym, without challenge at work, without challenge anywhere, you don't challenge yourself to grow. You need that conflict. You need that sort of boundary to challenge your ideas, right? And to challenge yourself. I think you need that. And I think what's also important is that you trust your perspective within the presence of others. And where you start with that is you build your foundation, right? You structure your foundation and what you stand on and what you believe, and you be sure of it, right? So you start by looking into the mirror and you ask yourself the questions that you are seeking the answers to. Whether it be emotions or opinions towards something, or how you view yourself around people. It's very complex. It's not a simple thing to do. It's not a simple question to ask. It takes a lot of peeling back layers. It takes a lot of understanding yourself, and understanding how you tick and how you react to things, and how things affect you, how your emotions are affected when you watch something, when you watch or when you hear and you listen to somebody else's opinion. How does that affect you? Those are the questions you should ask yourself, because, it's emotional. Those are emotional stimulus, and emotions control a lot of how you view things and how you think. If you're conscious of it, you'll understand that. I feel like that's where it starts. You have to ask yourself those questions, and you have to ask yourself what you believe, right? Like what you stand on. What are your morals? What is your code? Who are you? And you have to understand that yourself before you can kind of venture out and gain perspective, which you could do it simultaneously. I've been able to sort of do that, be comfortable in my own skin and be comfortable with what I believe and the foundation that I stand on, while at the same time having conversations with friends and asking questions, gaining perspective, and seeing how their perspective on life came to be. What experiences did they go through? What was their childhood like? It's very deep questions, and you can't have this conversation with everybody. It depends on the person, and it has to be a comfortable environment, or comfortable enough environment to have this conversation. You can't just go up to somebody and ask them, how was your childhood? Like it's a very deep-rooted conversation that takes a level of comfortability to have. But if you can find somebody, that's willing to have the conversation, or willing to dive into the conversation on a deeper level, you'll gain a lot of perspective with that. But you got to be solidified in how you view things. I feel maybe not completely solidified, but have an understanding of how you see the world and how you allow the world to affect you. I feel like that's important before you step out of your own box and try to understand other people. You should understand yourself first. What I think would help, which is it's an interesting thing that I've gone through, that many people have gone through, I'm sure you guys have gone through, is having this antisocial phase. Experiencing this phase where you're separating yourself from other people, right? And you are in the presence of your own being. I feel like sometimes we have that phase. At least for me, I've had that phase where I chose to separate myself from friends and from people, outside opinions, and focus on myself and be in the presence of my own being. And it's when you're able to get to that point, it's amazing. It's precious. Because you have those conversations with yourself, and very, very deep, very real conversations. If you're open to being honest with yourself, those are real conversations you have, and there's a lot of beauty that comes out of that. A lot of understanding, a lot of aha moments. Like, wow, okay, so for example, I'll give you guys an example. I think back on my childhood a lot, and the experiences that I went through and how they made me feel at the time. And in retrospect, it's easier to think about. At the time, it's a lot harder because it's happening to you in that time, right? So you don't really understand it fully, I suppose. I mean, you're going through it; it's an experience. But in retrospect, when I look back at those experiences, I'm able to understand them a little better, at least at this stage in my life. Understand how they made me feel and how I viewed myself afterwards, or after the fact, or during, things like that. Whether it be a good or bad experience, it's an experience. Some of those experiences never leave you. You hold these memories from your past, and for better or for worse, I think it depends on you and what the memory is and things like that. But I mean, I share with you guys a couple stuff, about my bike being stolen and stuff like that, and how it affected me. Of course, I have many other experiences that I could share. I'll spare you the details. I just want to touch base on the fact that I do tap into past experiences and my childhood and understand how my perspective on life came to be. How and why I see things the way that I do. How and why I allow things to affect me in ways, being sensitive or not sensitive. Why am I sensitive? Why am I sensitive to these topics, conversations? Where does that stem from? Where can I trace it back to? The inception of my emotions. If I view something a certain way, why do I view it a certain way? Ask yourself those questions. And there might not be an answer to it. You might just view things a certain way. There doesn't have to be an answer to everything. But you will find answers in some things, if you look and if you ask yourself the right questions. But it's so I know it's generally speaking, because it's such a complex thing and you could take it different ways. You can ask yourself, why I view people's opinions a certain way, or why do I not like being around people, or why do I feel shy around people, or why do I not feel confident in my opinions, and things like that. You got to chase that back yourself. It's I could do it for me because I live my experiences and I can try and ask myself the questions, but it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's helpful. It's beneficial. I feel like it's part of being more in tune with yourself and building that foundation to stand on. So last question I want to touch up on, which was a great question. I love this question. So I'm going to read it off my phone just because I want to get the question right, but I'll drop it on the screen too so you guys can see it. So it says, why do people make the decision to accept the opinions and desires of others above listening and developing their own? Sometimes it's crazy to think that those who don't have critical minds, who repeat everything they hear or read without ever questioning or analyzing it. The question is, for those people whose voice gets quieter and quieter and they can't hear it anymore, what do you think they should do? Firstly, just a disclaimer, I don't have the answers. I don't want to claim that I have the answers. I don't want to claim that this is what you should do, because I feel like it's relative to you guys and you guys would know how to deal with it best. If I were to give advice, I would say, if someone chooses to value somebody else's opinion and bring it to the forefront of their thoughts over their own, and they accept it, I don't think they ever fully accept it, as a fact. I don't believe that they're content with that. They may come to peace with it, they may be okay with the fact that their opinions aren't their own, whether they be conscious of it or not. I don't think they ever accept it, as a fact. I feel like it creates an internal battle within themselves to, constantly challenging their own ideas with somebody else's ideas. And that's a slippery slope. It's not an easy thing to deal with. I feel like it would create this rift, within yourself where you're spiraling down, trying to believe different things and trying to understand your opinions while at the same time comparing them to other people's opinions and other people's beliefs and kind of just getting lost in the sauce. That's kind of where that leads to. And I don't think people ever come to accept that fact. If they do, more power to them. I don't believe that at the core of people, they accept or they would love to accept somebody else's opinion over their own. I believe everybody wants to be an individual within themselves, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, but, if somebody finds themselves slipping, and losing their voice and sort of digging themselves in this hole, that they feel they can't get out of, my advice to this person would be what I would do for myself, which would be to look within, to find your voice within, and to maybe take time, separate yourself from people, be comfortable in your own presence. And like I said before, ask yourself the questions that you're seeking the answers to. It's an easier road to go down when you are okay with accepting other people's opinions over your own, as opposed to creating them yourself and having them stem from within. It's an easy way out, but then you kind of lose yourself. You kind of lose your identity. You kind of lose who you are, who you should be, and who you should be is you. You know what I mean? You got to be yourself. And who are you? You know what I mean? That is the biggest question. That's a bigger question to ask. Who am I? When you say be yourself, what does that mean? I don't even know. To be honest, you got to figure that out within yourself, man. I can't tell you the answers to that. I could tell it for myself, I could speak for myself, but if you're seeking that and if you're trying to understand yourself, or if you're trying to understand who you are, separate yourself from opinions. I think that's the best way to go about it. But yeah, I just wanted to tackle that idea again, you know, tip of the iceberg a little bit. It's such a complex question, complex thing to talk about, and it's you can tackle it from many different ways, and it's cool, it's interesting, you know, it's interesting to think about. You can come to many different conclusions with it, you know, and I'm just trying to tackle it from different angles and see what I can come up with. That's gonna be it for this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for the support, man. You guys already know I'm extremely grateful. Thank you guys so much. And if you like this video, go ahead and like the video and comment down below what you think about this particular deep dive. I tried to dive a little deeper into this one, you know, although I could still probably go a little deeper, but we'll see. You know, we'll see if I make another video based around this concept. And hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. It would be really helpful for me. And if not, it's all good. I still appreciate you guys tuning in nonetheless. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for the next video. It's coming. That's it. So I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace.